My client told me she was working 12-hour days and getting maybe 3 hours of real work done. She wasn't lazy. She was leaking energy. And there's a name for exactly where it was going. Welcome back. This is Dr. Lisa. We're on day 4 of working through summer. And today I want to tell you about someone I work with because her story is probably closer to yours than you think. She came to me wore down to the bone. And the first thing she said was that she thought she'd lost it, her edge, her focus, whatever it was that used to make her good at her job. She was working 12-hour days, 12. And by her own honest count, she was getting maybe 3 hours of real work done in all of that. The rest was a effort with almost nothing to show for it. And she was carrying it as a character flaw. I'm not disciplined enough, or I'm not trying hard enough, or something's wrong with me. I'll share her story as a composite, but the details, the shape of it is real. And I've seen it about a dozen times. So we did something simple. We mapped her actual day, hour by hour, what she actually did. And the problem jumped right off the page. She never finished anything. She'd start an email and a call would come in. So she'd jump to the call and the email still half written in her head. Mid call, a message would ping and her attention would splinter again. Then back to the email, then a quick question from a colleague, then a different fire. All day. She was just moving and never landing. Now, here's the science that explains exactly why this was so destructive. There's a researcher named Sophie Leroy who published a study at the University of Minnesota in 2009. And she gave us the phrase that once you hear it, you can't unhear it: attention residue. So here's what that means. When you switch from one task to another without stopping the first one or bringing it to a close, a part of your attention is going to stay stuck on that unfinished task. It keeps running in the background, and all that residue measurably drags down your performance on whatever you've switched to. So you're never fully on the new thing. A piece of you is still tangled in the last thing, and the thing before that, and the thing before that. My client's entire day was attention residue stacked on attention residue. So by 2 in the afternoon, she had a dozen unfinished tasks all running quietly in her head at once, and there was almost no attention left over to actually do anything well. That's why 12 hours produced 3. It wasn't a discipline problem, it was a closing problem. And the fix was not work more. She was already drowning in hours. The fix was the opposite: close loops. We built 2 things into her day. First, before she switched tasks, she'd take 60 seconds to bring the current one to a real stop. Even just a note to herself, like, here's where I am, here's the next step, a clean enough ending that her brain could let it go. And second, one hard finish line at the end of the day, a real stop, not a fade. And, within a few weeks, the 12-hour day started to shrink. And here's the part that she couldn't believe. She was getting more done in less time because the work was finally getting her whole attention, one piece at a time, instead of leaking a fraction of it spread across everything at once. So here's today's challenge practice. Before you switch from one task to the next, take 60 seconds to close the first one. You don't have to finish it, just bring it to a clean stop. Jot one line like, where are you? What's next? And give your brain permission to set it down. Then start the next text totally clean and notice how different it feels to be fully on one thing instead of leaking attention across 5. Well, that's it for today. If you saw yourself in her story, I made a simple one-page reset for exactly this: closing loops so your attention stops leaking. The link's in the comments. Grab it. It's free. But before you go, if this landed, pay it forward. Like, subscribe, tap the bell, and save it to a playlist. And be sure and leave me a comment, because that's where the community really comes alive. And I read every single comment. The bigger the circle, the lighter we carry it. That's Nezzen, and I'm glad you're in it. Tomorrow, I'm going to get personal and why I built my entire practice around this and the season that nearly broke me. This is day 4 of working through summer.